Hi everyone, it's Joey Remenyi from seekingbalance.com.au. I have a question today that I love actually, and it is this. Is hypersensitivity a type of neurodivergence? Any specific recommendations for highly sensitive people dealing with tinnitus or other not quite right sensations? Dizziness, vertigo, pain, isolation, all of that. So to first start at the beginning, yes, I would say hypersensitivity could be described as certain people being born with nervous systems that respond to external stimuli from the outside world with more neurological input. In other words, you can have two people side by side. Let's say it's a sunset, it's a breezy day, and they're having a beautiful conversation. A less sensitive person, for argument's sake, might have 100 neural maps firing as they feel the wind, see the sunset, and emotionally connect to the conversation. A high sensitive person may have 1,000 neural maps firing and wiring all at once, taking in the many layers and textures and the sensation of the wind, taking in the full depth and complexity of the human emotional connection and relatedness, as well as fully immersing themselves in the vividness of the sunset. So we have two people in exactly the same situation, but neurologically speaking, the high sensitive person has a lot more physiological work. Their body is processing a lot more neurological data and integrating a lot more interconnected data points in terms of physically taking it in, sensorially taking it in, emotionally, mentally, the imagination components, the existential and spiritual components. So it doesn't make anyone better or worse. We're all born differently. So neurodivergence means that we diverge from what is commonly seen statistically. There really is no such thing as normal. We all just are what we are. But when we talk about neurotypicality or neuronorms, we're literally just sort of taking a statistical language or bird's eye view and saying, well, look, most people respond this way to a sunset, or most people respond this way to the wind, or most people respond this way to a conversation. And there's a statistical distribution like a bell curve. Some people diverge from what's norm. Their experience is statistically less common. So it just means that they can feel overwhelmed with sensory inputs. They can feel overwhelmed with conversations in all directions, whether the conversation feels really shallow and meaningless and numb, and that creates a sort of emotional conflict and disappointment or disillusionment, or whether a conversation feels just so incredibly beautiful and rich and emotional and deep that there's this extremely overwhelming sense of ecstasy almost, right? So there can be overwhelm in all sorts of ways. And then the other one would be feeling very sensitive to rejection. And if somebody's response to your bigness, perhaps in conversation, feels dismissed or minimized or judged or wronged, then that can create this deep rejection response in the body and feeling of isolation, feeling misunderstood. And what happens then is the high sensitive person in so many micro moments throughout the day is physiologically juggling lots and lots of neural mapping conflicts and intensities. So what can we do about it? First and foremost, get to know how to best nourish your brain and body and how your body mind best operate, how to nourish yourself. So I'm a high sensitive being, and I've noticed that I do need a lot of alone time. I need a lot of solitude. I need a lot of time to digest my day, to literally digest and metabolize and excrete conversations, media, politics, all sorts of things. I need to be able to complete the biochemical processes. So at the end of the day, I'm not storing away this unfinished business. So I need time to myself to biochemically complete whatever it is I've been exposed to that day, because I'm high sensitive, I'm porous, I'm permeable, and the world really touches me and gets in, like literally gets into my connective tissue. It's a gift and it's a challenge. So we have to know ourselves to nourish ourselves. If I'm not digesting my day, if I'm not getting time to myself, if I'm not moderating my sensory stimulation in ways that nourishes me, because I don't want to be understimulated and I don't want to be overstimulated, right? I need to know myself my nuance and my complexity. If I'm understimulated, I can get symptoms. My body is screaming for stimulation. My body might be screaming at me to connect with other people or to get out in nature or to, feel the wind on my cheeks. I might need that stimulation. Or perhaps I'm overstimulated. I've been out in crowds and groups and people or supermarkets and odd jobs and shopping, what have you. And then my body may become symptomatic, or I may get those increased bodily sensations because my body is telling me, Joey, that's enough for today. I'm actually overwhelmed. I'm overloaded. Now I need time to myself to defrag, to organize everything that I've been exposed to in the day, and to come back to myself. So I think it's a very nuanced process, but we really do need to be aware of how to use our gifts, because with sensitivity comes incredible gifts that you will be able to offer the world. But if we don't understand our body, if we don't understand our brain, if we don't understand how we're organizing our neural maps and making sense of all of that neurological, it could be chaos, right? If we don't understand how to organize it and defrag and release the information that we don't need to hold on to, we can become very sick. We can become very isolated, and we can become very depressed and anxious because nothing makes sense, and our inner world can literally feel like a very scary jungle. So I hope that's useful. I would certainly encourage the Rocksteady program or my Sensing Ground community to find like-minded others, to learn about your neurocomplexity or your high sensitivity, to learn how to nourish yourself, and to learn how to normalize. You are who you are. Your normal is your normal. And finding like-minded peers can be game-changing. So sometimes if we're constantly feel like we're speaking Russian and everybody else is, speaking French, it's just this constant culture clash. But if we feel like we speak French and we find other French speakers, the whole body can just relax, and there's this sense of cultural consistency. So it is really useful to find neurological peers, people who experience the world in a more similar way to how you experience. And you can then experience it together. You can appreciate a sunset, and you can both be in that same cadence and rhythm as you digest the fullness of the sunset and appreciate each other's shared experience. So I hope that helps. It's a really, really exciting journey of identity and self-empowerment as we learn to take back control and learn how to deeply nourish ourselves in ways that goes far and beyond running the bath, buying yourself flowers, doing all those self-care things that the neuronormative world talk about. We're really looking outside the box here at how you can do life your way in radically different ways that deeply, deeply nourish you on all levels. So I'm Joey Remenyi. Visit seekingbalance.com.au, and I look forward to hearing more questions. So bye for now.